Welcome back to the deep dive. So I want you to imagine something. You've just bought your dream home. Maybe it's this charming vintage place built in the late 70s, nestled somewhere beautiful in the Okanagan
You
Valley.
got the lake view, the whole nine
A
yards.
whole package. You're hosting your first backyard barbecue, flipping burgers, everyone's admiring the lawn. And then someone walks across this one patch of grass and the ground just gives way.
It sounds like the opening scene of a horror movie or an 80s comedy gone wrong.
It really does. But according to the research we are digging into today, this isn't fiction at all. We're looking at a literal money pit situation that's happening right now in real time all across British Columbia.
Yeah, an invisible crisis most people have no idea about.
Exactly. An invisible crisis that doesn't show up until it completely destroys their bank account. So today, we're grabbing a shovel, metaphorically,
Mm.
and digging into septic systems. And before you tune out thinking, oh, great, plumbing, I want to be really clear. Our mission today is to debunk a very, very expensive myth. This idea that you can just keep patching an old system forever. Keep it on life support.
Right, the old if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality, or I'll just pump it one more time.
Yes. But the data we have, and some of this is from the team at Affordable Septic Systems, it suggests that, physics-wise, that's just impossible.
It really is, and we need to ground this a bit. We're talking about a specific timeline and geography. If your home was built between, say, 1970 and 1990, especially in the BC interior, you are sitting on a ticking clock.
And this isn't just about a clogged pipe.
No, not at all. This is about soil physics, material degradation, and these economic traps that can cost you tens of thousands if you don't see them coming.
Okay, so let's start with the most shocking thing I found in these notes. I consider myself, reasonably handy. I know what a septic tank is, usually a big concrete box,
Yeah.
maybe plastic in newer homes. But the research keeps mentioning something called a wooden box crib.
Ah, the wooden box crib. It's a phrase that strikes fear into the heart of any septic inspector, believe me.
So just so I'm clear, I had to read this twice. You're telling me that in the 70s and 80s, the standard way to handle raw sewage in BC was to build a box out of wooden planks and just bury it.
It was absolutely standard practice. You have to remember, back then, regulations were, let's just say, a little looser.
Mhm.
And in BC, we have a lot of wood.
Oh.
It was cheap. It was available.
Yep.
Concrete was expensive to haul up to remote properties, up the steep Okanagan driveways. So the solution was dig a hole, build a crib out of timber, sometimes treated, sometimes not, and let the wastewater seep out.
But wood rots, it's organic. We all know this. If I leave a deck chair out for a couple of winters, it starts to fall apart. You're talking about burying wood in wet, bacteria-rich soil for decades.
Precisely, and that's the core physics problem. It's inevitable. After 40-plus years in that environment, it doesn't just break, it composts. It turns into mush. It literally becomes part of the soil.
So when a homeowner calls a company and says, hey, my drain is slow, can you come patch the tank? What are they even talking about?
There is no tank left to patch. And that right there is the aha moment for this whole crisis. The structure is gone. It has disintegrated. You cannot repay a ghost.
Wow.
The only thing holding the ground up at that point is just the compacted soil above it, and that is failing fast because the support structure is gone.
And that leads right into the safety issue mentioned in the reports.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just talking about a toilet not flushing.
No, we are talking about actual sinkholes.
Sudden sinkhole.
Yes, this is the real danger. When that wood finally gives up that void space, the empty pocket where water used to sit, it collapses.
Ugh.
And the earth above it has no support. We've seen cases where people are just mowing their lawn and a wheel just drops into the ground. Or worse, it's a huge liability.
That's terrifying.
No.
Okay, so for anyone with a wooden box crib from, say, 1978, the advice isn't maintenance. The advice is physics says this is over.
Essentially, yeah. The physics dictate its lifespan is done. But here's the nuance, and this is where people who are thinking, well, I have a concrete tank, so I'm safe, need to pay attention.
Okay.
Even with a good concrete tank from that era, you are not out of the woods. There's another invisible killer in this research called Biomat.
Biomat. It sounds like a yoga product or something.
It does sound harmless, doesn't it? But it is the exact opposite for your septic system.
So break this down. What is Biomat?
Okay, so picture your septic field. Water flows from the tank into a big field of gravel, and then it's supposed to soak down into the soil to be treated. That's how it works on day one.
Right.
But over decades, this layer forms right where the gravel meets the dirt. It's made of anaerobic bacteria, slime, and mineral deposits.
A slime layer.
Think of it like a waterproof tarp. or like the glaze on a donut. Eventually, that layer gets so thick and so impermeable that water literally cannot pass through it anymore. So it doesn't matter if your tank is perfect or your pipes are clear. If the soil itself is sealed off by biomat, the water has nowhere to go.
And water always has to go somewhere.
It goes up, back toward the surface, or worse, back into your house.
Which brings us to what I'm calling the pumping fallacy, because I feel like every homeowner's default reaction is, oh, the drain is slow. I'll just call the truck to pump the tank.
It is the single most common and most expensive misconception. Pumping the tank removes the solids from the tank. That's all it does. It removes the sludge.
But not the problem.
It does absolutely nothing for the soil pores in the drain field that are clogged with 40 years of this biomat.
So it's like your kitchen sink is clogged way down the street in the main pipe, and you try to fix it by emptying the little trash can under your sink.
That is a perfect analogy. You feel like you did something. And maybe the sink drains for a minute into that empty space, but the pipe is still blocked.
Yeah.
Pump the tank, you buy yourself maybe 3 weeks of storage space, and then it all backs up again because the field can't accept any more water.
You're just treating the symptom, not the actual disease.
Exactly.
And the research also mentions another so-called fix that people try, which sounds really dangerous. Jetting. High-pressure water jetting.
This is where people get really bad advice. They think, oh, the pipes are clogged, let's just blast them clean. And look, in a new system with modern PVC pipes, sure, that might work.
But in a 40-year-old system,
You are blasting high-pressure water into pipes that are brittle and old. Sometimes they're made of this thin plastic called Big O, or even clay in really old setups. You're basically power washing a house of cards.
and it just collapses.
The experts at Affordable Septic Systems warn that this often causes the pipes to just blow out or collapse entirely. So you take a failing system and you pay someone to accelerate it to total failure.
Wow. You write the check thinking you're being responsible, and you've just made everything 10 times worse.
That's the definition of the money pit.
Okay, so we've got rotting wood, we've got soil sealed shut with slime. Let's get really practical for a minute. If I'm sitting in my living room in Kelowna or Vernon right now listening to this, how do I know this is happening? I can't see underground. What are the signs?
The source material lists 5 very specific warning signs, and they are emphatic about this.
Yeah.
Do not ignore these. They are the distress signals your house sends before the catastrophe.
Let's run through them. The first one is kind of ironic because on the surface it looks nice, the lush green patch.
Right. Picture it. It's August in the Okanagan. It's 35 degrees out. Everything's crispy and brown. But you look out at your backyard and there is one specific circle or rectangle in the lawn that is just vibrant green.
And you think, wow, I'm a wizard. Look at my amazing grass.
You are not a wizard. You are fertilizing your lawn with raw sewage. That grass is green because the nutrient-rich wastewater is rising up to the root zone because it can no longer go down. It's a huge health hazard, but visually, it's very deceiving.
Okay, so suspiciously green grass is a red flag. What's number 2?
Audio cues. The house literally starts talking to you.
Like pipes banging.
Gurgling. Specifically, if you flush the toilet and you hear the shower drain gurgle in the next room. Or you run the washing machine and the toilet starts bubbling.
What's physically happening there? Why the gurgle?
It's simple physics. The system is full. Air is trapped in the pipes because the water has displaced it and has nowhere to go. So the air has to escape somewhere, and it bubbles back up through the water in your toilet bowl or your shower drain. It's the system screaming, "I'm full, stop!"
The house is burping at you. Okay, sign number 3 seems obvious. The smell.
The classic rotten egg smell. Hydrogen sulfide. Now, people in the country sometimes say, oh, that's just country smells. No, there's a huge difference between a farm smell and a septic smell.
A big difference.
If you catch a whiff of that sharp sulfur smell, it means gases are escaping. Either the soil is so saturated it can't filter the odor anymore, or you have a crack in the lid. A healthy system shouldn't smell.
Number 4 is cooling water. This feels like the point of no return.
We call this hydraulic failure. It's when you walk across your lawn and it's squishy, or you see puddles and it hasn't rained in days. That liquid is effluent. It's wastewater that has breached the surface because the soil below is 100% fatigued.
The squish factor.
It is, and that is a biohazard zone.
And the last one, number 5, is really specific to our listeners near the water, like Okanagan or Kelowna Lake. Algae blooms.
Yes, this is huge. If you live on the lake and you see a sudden, thick bloom of algae right off your shoreline, way more than your neighbors have, that is a strong indicator that your septic effluent is leaching through the ground and feeding the algae in the lake.
It's fertilizer runoff, but from your house.
Exactly. It's an environmental problem starting in your backyard.
So let's say a listener is nodding along. Yeah, I've got the green grass. I've heard the gurgle. The human instinct is to panic and try to fix it cheaply. But let's talk about the financial reality of that. You call it Band-Aid math.
And it is painful. Let's crunch the numbers from the research. So you decide to just pump the tank more often. If your field is failing, you might need a pump every 2 months at, say, $500 a pop.
That's $3,000 a year right there.
$3,000 gone. Then maybe you buy those chemical additives you see at the hardware store that promise to restore your system.
Which are basically snake oil for this level of failure.
Pretty much. But let's say you spend $200 on them anyway.
Then you have a backup during a dinner party. You pay for an emergency call-out, maybe that dangerous jetting we talk about. That's another, what, $1,500?
Easily.
Yeah.
And you probably had to dig up the lawn to find the lid, so you're spending another $1,000 to fix the landscaping you just destroyed.
So quick math. That's over $5,000 in 1 year. And the crucial question is, did you actually fix the problem?
Oh. You bought a few months, maybe. You've wasted $5,000 and you still have a collapsed, broken system. But there's an even bigger trap here. The regulatory trap.
Right, because this isn't the 70s anymore. The government has rules.
A lot of rules. We're dealing with the BC Sewerage System Regulation. And here's the kicker. If you try to do a significant repair on a failing system like just replacing the tank, you are legally required to bring the entire system up to the current code.
Wait, so if I just want to replace my rotten wooden box with a new concrete one, I might have to redo the whole field too.
Almost certainly. The health authority will not sign off on connecting a brand new modern tank to a failed, undersized, illegal field. You can't just put a new tire on a car that's on fire.
And if you try to get around it, do it without a permit.
That's the real estate trap. And this is maybe the most important part for anyone thinking of selling their home. Let's say you do an illegal patch job, cover it with dirt, and list your house.
The home inspection happens,
And the inspector finds it. Or the buyer asks for the permit filings for the repair, and you don't have them. The sale dies. Right there. Banks will not mortgage a house with a non-compliant sewage system.
But on the flip side, a brand new system is an asset.
A huge asset. A real estate listing that says New Septic System 2026 is a massive selling point in the Okanagan. It's like a new roof. Lenders know this. Many will let you add the replacement cost to your mortgage or a HELOC because it adds real value.
So replacement is an investment, while a patch job is a liability.
Right, it's in a nutshell.
So, okay, we've established replacement is the smart move. How do you do that without getting ripped off? I've heard construction horror stories.
This is where the business model really matters. The research points out there's an old way of doing this and a new way.
The old way sounds like a game of telephone.
It's a markup cascade.
Yeah.
You, the homeowner, hire a general contractor. The GC adds their 20%. The GC hires a designer who adds their 20%. The designer hires an excavator who hires an installer.
And everyone takes a cut along the way.
Exactly. By the time a shovel actually hits the dirt, you've paid for 4 people's overhead and a lot of phone calls. It's incredibly inefficient.
And the alternative. The research highlights a model like the one at Affordable Septic Systems. They call it vertical integration.
It's a business term, but it really just means we do it all. They own their own excavators. They hold the design certifications in-house. They do the installation themselves.
So you're not paying for the GC to call the designer to call the excavator. You're just paying for the excavator.
Precisely. You pay for the actual work, not the administrative friction, and you get a code-compliant system because the same team is responsible from start to finish.
It makes sense. It's like buying factory direct instead of from a boutique.
And the chance for errors goes way down. When the person who designed the system is the one digging the hole, things just tend to go a lot smoother.
So let's bring this all together. We started with the money pit. If you're in a home in BC built in 1978 and you haven't touched your septic,
You are almost certainly living on borrowed time. The physics are against you. If it's a wooden crib, it's decomposing. If it's an old field, Biomat is sealing it off. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
and the takeaway here is to stop fighting the physics.
Stop fighting the physics. If you see those warning signs, the green grass, the smell, don't throw $5,000 at a Band-Aid. Call a certified professional. Get a real assessment. Replacement is the financial investment. Repair is the financial drain.
It's funny, we spend so much time and money obsessing over the aesthetics of our homes. We'll drop $30,000 on a kitchen renovation for quartz countertops.
But we completely ignore the systems that actually make the home livable.
And that's the thought I want to leave everyone with. We paint the walls, we change the floors, but we ignore this invisible infrastructure until the ground literally collapses beneath us.
It's the ultimate out of sight, out of mind trap. But in homeownership, what's out of sight is usually what ends up costing you the most.
A sobering but very necessary deep dive. Check your records, look at your lawn, and maybe stop ignoring that gurgling toilet. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.